Here we go. It is Game Lab lesson number 20, and we're going to work with velocity once again. This is another round of velocity. In lesson number 19, we looked at velocity blocks and how you can assign a velocity that will give an object direction and speed by using those blocks. Now we're going to take velocity blocks and kind of combine them with keyboard control. As always, this is all documented for you. There's a handout on Google Classroom. Kind of goes through the main idea step by step. There is a bonus opportunity which you will see in this movie if you keep watching. And so here we go. Let's kind of go to work here. Now this is another day where I gave you some code. I posted some code on Google Classroom that you can use if you want to. There's not much there, but you can use it if you would like. It looks like this. When you load it up, it's called the Flyer. If you run it right now, there's a spaceship on a black background and it doesn't do anything at all. All right. So we're going to go to work on all of the things that are involved in making this thing work the way I want it to work, the way I want you to do this, the way I want you to try it out, okay? All right, so here we go. This is going to involve reading the keyboard and assigning some velocities and also rotating an object if it needs to be rotated. So we're going to start with this. We're going to go to control, and I'm going to bring over an if block here, and we're going to use the whole key down. Now in this case, key down, I'm going to use key down because it will work. You probably could get by with key went down this time, because once you assign an object a velocity, it's going to keep going. It has a speed and a direction until you change its speed and direction. And so you could probably use either one of those blocks. I think I'm just going to use key down on this. And I will start with the up arrow. I'm just going to use the 4 arrows to control some movement here, and you'll need to do something similar to this. All right, so if the up arrow gets pressed, what do I want to do? All right, this rocket ship is called Flyer. That's the name of my variable. So I'm going to give it a velocity for one thing. Now, if it's going up, that's going to be a y velocity, and so I'm going to say flyer. And if it's going up, that's going to have to be a negative, and so I'll say -10. You can make it go as fast as you want it to go, except I have to be able to control it. Don't make it go so fast I can't control it. Now, this is kind of an optional thing, but if somebody presses the up arrow on mine, I don't want there to be any kind of x velocity at all. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say flyer.velocity x equals 0. You could probably get by without that. You might get some different results if you don't put that in there. But I'm going to put it in there because when somebody hits the up arrow, I just want it to go up and not drift sideways at all, not on the x-axis. All right. Now, the other thing I'm going to do here is I want to make sure, and I think it's okay for now, but later on it might not be. I'm going to take a dot rotation and set the rotation of it to 0 here. So really I could test this out. If I hit the up arrow, it ought to fly up, and it did. All right. Now, I'm going to have to kind of, pun intended, I'm going to have to fly through this a little bit because now I'm going to build 3 more of these. All right, so let's go fast. Let's go to work. I'm going to say if, and I could copy and paste, but I think I'll just build them. It's not that hard. If key down is the down arrow. All right, and you know, in this case I might copy and paste. I might just mark key in and take those right there, copy those, stick them down here. And the velocity y this time, if it's going down, it's going to be a positive number, and I'm going to have to change the rotation of it. All right, so a little copy and paste there did help. So when I run, if I hit up and if I hit down, see, it not only goes in the direction that I tell it to go, but I'm also getting a rotation, so it points in the direction that I want it to go. And that's part of today. If you're not going to use my rocket ship, if you're going to use something else, make it rotate and point in the direction that it needs to. And you know, I can't tell you for sure that these angles are going to work perfectly for you. It kind of depends on what object you're using. You may have to play with those numbers a little bit. All right, so let's keep it going. Let's keep it rolling here. Now we're going to talk about right and left here. So I'm going to say if key down, and I'll do this one for the right arrow. All right, so in this case, I am just going to rebuild this time because, well, you know what? I don't think I am going to rebuild it this time. I'll just copy. Well, I don't even have to copy it again. What am I thinking? I'll just paste it again, and I'll just make some adjustments. I don't want, if it's going to the right or the left, I want a 0 velocity y. I don't want it to drift up or drift down at all. I'm just going to set it to a 0 velocity y. But for the x, I'm going to set that to 10. If it's going to the right, that's a positive number. And if for the rotation, I'm going to set that to a 90-degree rotation. You know what? I don't think I'm even going to test that yet. I'll just go ahead and bring over my next if block. I'll go down and go ahead and do a key down. And this is going to be for the left arrow. All right. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and paste my commands that I previously copied in there. Okay. Now again, I'm moving to the left. I want a 0 y velocity. I don't want it to drift up or down. I'm going to put in a negative number for the x velocity. That's on the x-axis. And I'm going to point this at 270, I think. Well, we'll find out soon enough. 270. So I have my 4 basic commands in there. I have up, down, right, and left. I have set my velocities for all 4 of those. I have set my rotation for all 4 of those. So let's run this and let's use the arrow keys. Now, I don't have to hold the arrow key down to make this work. Once an object is assigned a velocity, it just goes. So I don't have to hold the arrow key, and that's why I probably could have used key went down on my if command, but I use key down just mostly out of habit here. So when I tap on the arrow buttons, and you can start to see how this is game control here. Right? I've got an object that moves around the screen kind of on its own, and what I'm really in control of is its direction. All right, cool. Let's talk bonus here. If you want to get into bonus, I can throw in one more if command to make the bonus. Here's the challenge of the bonus, and if you want to, if you don't want to see this, I mean, I'm making this easy on you, but if you don't want to see this, if you want to think, I want to figure out the bonus myself, then stop this movie. Hit stop and go figure it out. But here in about 3 seconds, I'm going to start putting in a solution to how, here's the challenge. I want to make it so if I press a key, and in my case it's going to be the space bar, if I press a key, it resets the spaceship to the center of the screen, pointing up and not moving. All right, you got that? Hit a key, and if I do, it goes to the center of the screen, pointing up, not moving. All right. Well, that's going to be a conditional statement. So it's going to be an if, and it's going to be a key down. Probably could be a key went down again, but I'm just going to use a key down. And I'm going to use the space bar here, which is one of the options on the menu there. All right. Now, what are all the things I want to have happen if that becomes true, if that condition becomes true, if somebody hits the space bar? One thing I want to have happen is I want to reset just, now notice this is just a dot x and a dot y. This is not a velocity. This is a different thing. Flyer. I want to set the x location of the flyer to 200, and I want to set the y location. I said I wanted to put it back in the middle of the screen. Well, that's over 200, down 200. So with using those 2 commands, I'm setting its location back to the middle of the screen. Next thing, I am going to bring over a velocity x and a velocity y, because what's the other thing I said? Well, I also don't want it to move anymore. If I hit that space bar, I want it to just go to the center of the screen and stay there, just stop. All right, so I'm going to set the velocities, both of them, to 0. Now the other thing that I want to do is make sure that the rotation also, no matter how it was pointing, this will be flyer, no matter how it was pointing, when I hit the space bar, I want it to point up. All right, so I'm just going to set its rotation to 0. So that little last if block there should do the trick of getting the bonus for me here. All right, so let's go up, down, right, left. Let's fly around for a little bit. And then if I come over here and hit the space bar, if I just tap the space bar, it does all those things that I put in the last if block where I said if the space bar goes down, set the X to 200, set the Y to 200, set the velocity X to 0, the velocity Y to 0, and set the rotation to 0. Well, looky there. We've done it. We have used velocity in combination with keyboard control. Now I want to see your version of it. Off you go.